The Still Small Voice by Ernest Holmes. I know that new and wonderful ideas come into my consciousness and that I am compelled to act upon them intelligently. I am assured of guidance. I feel that it will be impossible for me to make any mistake, that even though I should start to move falsely, my movement will be corrected. The gates of my mind are opened up and a flood tide of intuition flows through. If you can just take these words into that inner sanctuary for a few moments. So how good it is to know that we are absolutely one with God, that God is in and through all of us. It is that internal divine guidance, that internal compass in our own life, that we are absolutely just embedded with that power within every cell of our body, that we have that wisdom every moment of every day that divinely guides us every step of our life. And so I know that that same energy of God is right here today, orchestrating this whole entire service with the music ministry, Reverend Cece, the Children's Church, and all of us as practitioners and congregants. And so I know that we are absolutely blessed, that this is a time of power, that this is a time of joy, that we are here together by divine appointment. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
So this is nearly the end of my exploration of a book that has really moved me quite deeply. It's called God of Love, and it's a book that draws from the three major quote-unquote Western religions or world religions of of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and it dwells on the idea that all three religions and most others have, that the nature of this thing that sometimes we call God, sometimes we call universe, sometimes we call life, sometimes we call infinite intelligence, whatever we choose to call it, this thing the shortest and most succinct word I know for it is God, that its nature is love. And through the course of this book, we've talked about how love shows up in our lives and in us. We talked about the sense of unity with everything that sometimes will just overtake us and take us over. And we talked about care and stewardship for our planet and all of its life. We talked about that call, that inner call that calls us to step out into something greater, and our answer is, here I am, hidden in Hebrew. We talked about shifting our awareness to bridge that perceived separation between each other and between us and this energy that we call God. And we talked about awe and wonder and about doing service to the love in each other, to the love in the world, and about the forgiveness that is necessary in order to allow this love to flow through us unimpeded. We talk about them because we're the place this God of love shows up. I mean, it shows up in the beauty around us, and we see it in the sunset, and we see it in life and things like that, but it shows up through its creation. And we have sort of an interesting place in that creation. We've evolved to the point where we think about God, and we wonder why we're here, and we consciously know in those rare, precious moments that hopefully become more and more frequent that we are part of that, and that it is what we are. And so that's why we talk about these things. That, if we're the place it shows up, how do we allow it to show up through us in greater and more wonderful ways all the time? And of course, we talk a lot about the mind here, because the mind is the only place we can know that intelligence. We can see it, as I said, in the sunset, or in each other's eyes, or the eyes of the loved animals that we have. But we only know the experience of those things in our own consciousness, in our own minds. And we associate love with beauty in our own minds. And we associate this feeling of great peace with that universal intelligence within our own minds. And so we meet this God of love, this energy of love in our own minds. And so today I want to talk about communicating with it, about retreating from the world a little bit in order to hear the voice of the guidance of our highest self, which, has been called the still small voice, from a wonderful story. Here's how I look at the Bible. I think about the Bible the way I would think about a dream. Every story, every character in every story, every place a story happens is somehow an aspect of our own consciousness. So think about this when we talk about this story from the book of Kings. It's about Elijah, the prophet. And Elijah is on the run from Jezebel, who is really it's no wonder they call, what's the right word for those kinds of women? They're sly. It's no wonder they call sly and sort of underhanded women Jezebel. She was one. She was just a Jezebel. But she had all the prophets of the native religions, which in the Bible represent to me all the poles of the world. You can wrap them all up into one golden calf, right? So Elijah's on the run because he's killed a bunch of these prophets off, and he's having a difficult time of it. And so he goes into the wilderness, and an angel comes to care for him and feed him. And the angel finally says, "Go and stand on the mountain before God." And so Elijah does. And here's what the Bible says. "And behold, God passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks, but God was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but God was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice." It's that still small voice that tells Elijah what to do, that guides him to his next step. And I think there's a really important message in this story. The still small voice that speaks deep within our own minds is the one that guides us truly, not the wind and the earthquake and the fire of all the stuff that happens out here in our daily lives all the time. And so we have to find ways to get still enough and far enough away from the earthquake and the fire and the wind to be able to hear, to be able to listen to our own deepest guidance, and then we have to find the courage to follow it. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote this. He said, "Our consciousness expands through meditation and contemplation, through conscious communion with the invisible, and through our intuition, which is the voice of spirit in us. Spiritual experience comes in the stillness of the soul, when the outer voice is quiet. In moments of real inspiration, we realize, to some degree at least, that God is all, the life in everything, and the love through everything." This is really hard for us because we have to pause from trying to make things work. We spend a lot of time trying to make things work, right? We have to pause from our efforts to make things work and breathe again and sort of stop being driven by our compulsions and remember that we are wondrously made. We have to stop and remember that we are wondrously made. And we slow down and simply make ourselves available to however it is we see the intelligence of the universe, however it is we experience spirit, intelligence, life, whatever you want to call it. And we have to give time for peace to grow and ripen in us. And so we have to put aside that 10,000 demands that we all have, we all carry around, they're always upon us, and just be present for a little bit. Just be present and become alert to the signs that are breaking through all the time if we'll stop and notice them. The sun coming out can wake us up, and the frost twinkling on the grass can give us a moment of gasping in its beauty, and we look into a loved one's eyes and can really feel that deep peace and the tenderness of our own hearts that's always breaking open to be more loving. The Jews have a great idea. They call it Sabbath. Shabbat, Sabbath. It is a whole day dedicated to inward focus. You know, that's a pretty radical act in our society. It's a pretty radical act of self-governance and freedom to say, I'm taking this day away from the world to pay attention. And when we take whatever time we can take, whether it's a day a week or half an hour a day, we make ourselves available to hear that still small voice that's not in the wind or the earthquake or the doing or the shopping or the cooking or anything else. It simply is at our deepest core. And when we hear it whisper to us, and it whispers to us things like peace and joy and love and freedom and abundance and beauty and perfection. And it points us home. It points us home to that indwelling presence that each one of us has. You know, Ernest Holmes, our founder, was all about practical spirituality, and he said this about it. He said, practice is direct and simple. There's no mystery about it. It doesn't mean there's no mystery about the universe. It means there's no mystery about the practice. We should do away with every petition, he said, of ourselves, of God, of the world. We have to stop all those things we're expecting ourselves to do, first of all, because we're the ones we drive the hardest, and everything else. We should do away with every petition. And in the silence of our own solitude, seek that divine creative center, which is at the same time the cause, the medium, and the effect in our lives. The cause, the medium, and the effect. It is only when, in the simple and direct integrity of our own thought, we seek the center of our own soul, that the living universe is revealed to us. I love that. It's only when we get quiet and still and realize what it is that lives in the middle of us that the living universe is revealed to us. And since each one, he said, is in company with his own soul, there is nothing to keep him from this divine place but himself. Well, there's those petitions and that 10,000 things that we expect to get done by the end of the day. But what we have to learn to do is set those aside, realizing we can pick them up later. So we just have to put them on hold and enter into the silence of our own solitude and remember that within us is already a divine creative center. And our whole life springs from it. Our whole life springs from it. I found this other quote, and I'm going to use part of it right now. It's another Ernest Holmes quote, and he said, from that place, remind yourself that pure intelligence alone leads. Perfect love alone guides. And perfect goodness alone controls. What a mantra. Pure intelligence alone leads. Pure love alone guides. And pure goodness alone controls. I think that's the truth that sets us free. It's the thing that helps us remember that no matter how long the list of petitions, and no matter how funky the circumstances, no matter how loud the earthquake or the wind, Perfect intelligence leads, perfect love guides, and perfect goodness controls. Wow. Many of you know I'm taking this class, and it involves Emma Curtis Hopkins, also known as the spiritual hammer to some of us around here. Bam! Emma's she was really something. She said, look carefully into your own mind. Examine your kingdom of thoughts, and you will see there is always a region of you which is intensely looking for deliverance from your environment. Is this not true? Get me out of here. Get me out of here. But your Christ consciousness, she said, your deliverer is also standing right inside yourself, telling you the exact way out at this moment. At this moment. We just don't let ourselves hear it. We don't let ourselves hear it. She said, hush all. I think there's something back there. A small creature of some sort. Oh, good. All right. Well, we did have a raccoon under the stage one time. That was interesting. He would go all the way in the back and eat all the crayons, and then he'd come up here and poop Technicolor. It was amazing. It's the weirdest thing ever. He really liked he liked the wax, I guess. But anyway, I thought it was the raccoon was back. Back to Emma, back to our spiritual hammer. She said, hush all those other voices, and let that one which says, I am the Christ, speak. And it's not the way we traditionally think of Christ. It's the Christ consciousness that's in every one of us, that highest thought that we have, the highest thought, the thought that we are marvelously made, that we're made by and through and from that intelligence that brought into being everything. That's the thought we want to be speaking. And Emma goes on to remind us that every single thought we have says, I am. One says, I am envy. Another says, I am bigotry. Another says, I am success. Another one says, I am the Christ. That's the greatest one. That's the highest thought we have. That's the thought that will remind us that we're one with this universal energy, whatever we call it, the God of love. And she says, if you will let all your thoughts hold still for this one to rise in its majesty, you are good and great and wise and healthy that moment. The satisfaction of living is yours when forth from you flows the living water of your highest idea. So we go into the stillness of our own being and we systematically let go. I can't remember who it was that said that the process of finding God is a process of letting go of all the things that are unlike it within ourselves. We let go of the demands and the thoughts and the to-dos and the I'm not enoughs and the pleas and the petitions and all of that stuff, and let them go. And we remember we can pick them up later, and then we focus on that one highest thought that says, wait a minute, I'm a manifestation of the divine. That's who I am. I am one with all that is. I am one with the life in everything and the love through everything. That's the highest idea we have. And when we let that rise up and we let that sustain us and speak to us and guide us and guard us, then we are, what did she say? Good and great and wise and healthy that moment, and peaceful and joyful and happy and free. And so then we have to figure out how to take this daily inner practice out into the world. We have to start letting it live us. Start letting it live us. And the out in the world practices that augment this stillness are many, and we talk about them a lot, and we have talked about them. You know, one practice that I try to do when I think about it, which isn't often enough, when I think about it, I say, today I'm going to forgive every slight that comes my way. Whether it's somebody, you know, in the grocery store who crashes in front of me as I'm trying to get out of the aisle, or a slight from myself, which is sometimes the hardest, those slights where you look in the mirror and go, blah, or whatever it is you do, where we tear ourselves down. I choose to forgive those too. Whatever the slight is today, I'm going to forgive all of them, and I'm going to do it as quickly as I can and really, really, really forgive and let go. The ones that I do to myself are the ones that take more time. Or making a list of all we're grateful for. That's another really good out in the world practice. Doing one good, generous act every day without requirement of recognition or acknowledgement or recompense. That's another really good practice. And then there's, in the teaching stories of the traditions, there's a million wonderful stories about practice, these kinds of practices. One of my favorites comes from the Zen Buddhist tradition. It's a story about a Zen master whose name was Sono. And she taught a very simple method of enlightenment. Whenever people came to her, she would say, adopt this as your mantra under all conditions. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Say that as your mantra. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. People came from all over to Sono for physical healing, for emotional healing, for spiritual healing, for financial troubles, to become liberated in their souls. And no matter what it was, she said, take this as your mantra. Thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Some people thought she was nuts. Some people argued with her. Some people got angry and some were disappointed. But some of them took the suggestion to heart. And they stopped complaining and they started to say, thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. And those people, tradition tells us, were healed. They found peace. They found enlightenment. They found whatever it is they needed. I'll bet they did. I'll bet they did. It feels wonderful to let go of complaining and just say thank you. Thank you for everything. There's a guy, a unity minister from somewhere in, I think, Indiana, and he wrote a book called A Complaint-Free World. And he used to give out bracelets, those little rubber bracelets that said no complaints. And here's the trick. He said, put this bracelet on one of your wrists, and the goal is to go 30 days without complaints. So you put it on one of your wrists, and every time you hear yourself complaining, you take it off that wrist and put it on the other. Well, all day, every day, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't think I ever did make it 30 days, but I still try to remember by reminding myself of Sono and her motto, thank you for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. I have that bracelet still somewhere. I'll find it and try it again, but it is an amazingly liberating thing to even go a day or half a day without complaining about anything. Wow. What a gift. Whatever we do to adopt a daily practice of being in and living from that highest thought, that still small whispering voice that says, this is who you are. Don't buy that other stuff. This is who you are. Don't believe it. The action helps us tune in more clearly to the voice so that we hear its guidance more readily, right? And whatever we do to arrange time in our own lives for silence on a regular basis helps us hear the voice more clearly as well. Whatever we do to keep our thinking in the realm of the Christ consciousness that Emma Curtis Hopkins talks about will guide us no matter what, whatever we're walking through. There's another great line in the New Testament that we are transformed by the renewing of our minds. And as Paul said, let that mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. That Christ is a title. It means the anointed one. And he was anointed because of the way he thought and acted and spoke. And every one of us is similarly anointed. There's always a question that comes up. What if I'm being fooled and it's not really that voice? What if it's that other voice inside of me? The one that says you're fat, you're ugly, you're stupid. Whatever it is it says. What if it's that voice playing nice? How do I tell the difference? The complete quote from Ernest Holmes is this. Because of the diversity of ideas which are held in the subconscious, it is not always possible to know whether we're following pure intuition or whether we are being led by subjective but unconscious thought patterns, which have accumulated through the ages or through our own personal experience. Intuition would invariably be right if it were never hindered by this subjective confusion. The best we can do at present is to watch these actions and reactions very carefully, always working to know that pure intelligence alone leads, perfect love alone guides, and perfect goodness alone controls. So we think about our actions and we look at them in that light. Is this the highest? Is this coming from my highest thought? What is pure intelligence, the purest intelligence I can find within me, lead me to do? What does the most perfect love within me guide me to do? And what does the biggest goodness in me ask me to do? That's the best we can do. And you know what? When we do those things, we can pretty much rely that it's the voice of intuition that's guiding us, and not that other voice. Not that other voice would say, pure cunning alone leads, and selfish love alone guides, and if it's good for me, alone controls, right? So we can tell the difference, we really can. We're talking about perfect love and pure intelligence and absolute goodness, the goodness that each one of us already is. We don't have to create it. We don't have to do anything to earn it. It's already there. It's already us. And that's how we change our lives, right? And that's how we change the world. We change by being the love of God, by allowing the God of love to live through us, by paying attention to our highest thought, that we are wondrously, miraculously made, that we're incarnations of the universe's very life. And by remembering that pure intelligence alone leads, and perfect love alone guides, and perfect goodness alone controls. So join me, if you will, in just a moment of quiet and inner focus. And breathing. Breathing is wonderful. And from this place of deep quiet within, this reservoir that dwells at the very center of our being, we sit and we listen. And we listen for that word from that voice that feels like it's the highest thought we can have. The voice that is untainted by me and mine and getting and wanting. The voice that says only love, that speaks only peace, that brings only conviction with it, that speaks of the intelligence fused with love, coming from goodness. The voice that reminds us that we are wondrously made and here to do wondrous things. And as we are in contact with that voice, we realize that it is the voice of that which created all that exists. That it is our deepest and truest self. And we simply say yes to it. We open up to it. We allow it to speak and we listen. We allow it to guide and we follow. We allow it to control and we say yes. That is what we surrender to, our highest self. Not to anything outside ourselves, but to our highest and greatest and most powerful self. To that mind of God that is the mind within each one of us. To that core of life that fills the entire universe. To that deep wisdom that says, I am, within our very hearts. And as we do that, we are perfect, whole, complete, sane, serene, happy, filled with peace and joy, healthy and abundant in this moment. And so I know for each one of us that that highest thought within our minds becomes our constant companion. That when we have a decision to make, we automatically say, let that highest thought lead me. That when we have heartache, we remember that even in heartache, there is guidance from this highest thought, this greatest love, this purest peace. And I know that we take it out into the world in all that we do and say and think and imagine and create, so that the beacon of light that shines within each one of us shines outward, ever brighter, guiding and guarding and lighting our path and also the paths of those around us, shining back to them a reflection of the mighty truth that lives within them, that they too are that highest consciousness of Spirit itself incarnate within each person. And so knowing this, I just say thank you. I say thank you to this life that flows through each one of us and binds us together and brings to us all that we need, all that we need. We just say, thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. And so in this place of deep gratitude and joy, I release these words knowing that the universe has already said yes to them. And I am grateful. And we say together, and so it is.
I am just a thread, a simple thread in this glorious web of life.
We are all just drops within a stream flowing towards an ocean of light. We may forget where we come from. We may forget where we're going to. I might not see that you're a reflection of me as much as I'm a reflection of you. I am just a seed, a blessed seed with eternity unfolding in me. And I pray that as I grow, I will reveal the love that illuminates my soul. When I remember where we come from, when I remember where I'm going to, then I can see that you're a reflection of me as much as I'm a reflection of you. Of the infinite one, this is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one. This is my simple prayer. May I become a reflection of the infinite one.
just love that. I just love that song. So let's take a moment and just say thank you for all of our blessings, for all that we are grateful for our homes and our families and our friends and our well-being and all that we have and all that we are. We have an opportunity to give to this center to continue its work. And it is a giving from gratefulness, from gratitude for all that we have and all that we are. And whether you're giving today, whether you're able to give or not, as the basket passes through your hands, just bless the abundance of this community, if you would, so that we may continue to grow and thrive and reach more people and do more good and be all that we came here to be. And let's affirm, gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
I know that as I give, so do I receive.
I know that as I give, so do I receive.
And so it is.
And so it is.
I was looking for the kids, but I think they disappeared. So I have a couple of quick announcements, and first, and I want you to know there's pumpkin bread and chocolate chip cookies and coffee in the social hall, made by angelic hands, of course, except those chocolate chip cookies, they're kind of devilish. But anyway. In a good way. In a good way. So mark your calendars for December 4th. It's a Friday night, a week from this coming Friday, for our annual decorating party. We actually have some new decorations in these new colors, which will be great. We start at 6 p.m. with soup and pie and cider and more, and we take a couple of hours to decorate the place. So there's a sign-up sheet over by the Welcome Center if you want to let us know you're coming. On December 5th, which is a Saturday, there's a leadership retreat. So if you're in leadership here and you didn't receive an email about it, please talk with Kathy Rice. That would be great. And then on Sunday, December 6th, right after service, the Green Teams and the Green Team and Social Team are meeting if you are interested in joining either one of them. And then at 2 that Sunday afternoon is a gingerbread house making party. Woohoo! So the materials will be provided, or you can bring your own if you so wish. There's another sign-up sheet for that over there. And bring your dinosaur, because you know if your gingerbread house falls in, you just add a dinosaur and you're perfect, right? Or Godzilla or something. Sorry, I got lost on the dinosaur thing. I've seen that meme too many times on Facebook, the dinosaur crashing the roof in on the gingerbread house.
Sorry, I'm singing Godzilla.
He's singing a Godzilla theme song. Hey, no, it's not. Never mind. December 13th, after service, we will break bread together in celebration of all of these fabulous holidays that happen at year end between Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and there's another one that I can't remember. There's also a Hindu holiday. This name is escaping me. But it's a great time to celebrate each other. So join us, bring a dish to share at the potluck. We provide the mains, and there's some sign-up sheets over at the Welcome Center for that. And if you just look at the back sheet of your bulletin, it'll give you lots of information about who to contact and more information about these events. So right now, would all the practitioners who'd be available for a quick prayer after service stand up? Thank you all very much. We do have a practitioner meeting, but they'll be quick. So we call it a 1-minute miracle. So don't think it's gonna mess with your afternoon schedule. It's not. We believe in prayer, and so these practitioners who have studied and worked for years to be able to see the spiritual truth when you can't, give you the gift of prayer right after the service. Just walk up to one of them and ask for prayer, and they will escort you to a quieter corner and talk with you a little bit more and pray. You can also leave a written prayer request in the chest back by the door, because prayer changes things, and the way we pray is not to petition. We put aside the petition and simply know within our own minds that the God of our own being is with us, in us, as us, through us, and the same is true for the one that we are praying for. So, I think that's it. We will close with our closing affirmation, and then a light in this world, and I shine, right?
That's right.
So stand up, everybody.
That's on page 1.
In the book?
Page 1.
The lyrics are page 1 of the music book, by the way. The wholeness of the universe is seeking expression through me.
The wholeness of the universe is seeking expression through me.
Its nature is goodness,
Its nature is goodness,
truth, beauty, and wisdom. I allow it to shine through me.
I allow it to shine through me.
Today and always.
Today and always.
And so it is.
So it is.
Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving and eat pie. Enjoy, enjoy.